My name is James Barnum from London Spokes. I've been mountain biking since about 1988 and I've worked in cycle shops. I'm also a product designer and an engineer, so I wanted to talk to you about these two pairs of excellent Gore-Tex boots that I've been looking at, and I'm facing a dilemma, and I thought I'd talk through some of the reasons why I am finding it difficult to make a choice between these two. Right, so between the two shoes, you'll see that they're both Gore-Tex shoes. In terms of the material itself, the Fizik seems to have this PU upper, which is a really nice sort of finish to it. Obviously, you've got these extra reinforced rubber sections on both shoes, sort of preventing any small holes from being permeated with water. And the thing is that Gore-Tex as a membrane, as I'm sure you're aware, allows water vapour through but not water droplets. So they both contain a sort of a liner inside that protects your foot from water ingress, but they both have these perforations all the way around. You'll notice that the Fizik has got slightly larger holes, I'd say sort of about 1.5 millimetres, but they seem to be completely clear, whereas the Heater seems to be about 1 millimetre holes, 0.5 to 1 millimetre, but you know, the holes aren't quite as clear. Now, both shoes will breathe, obviously, but I think that the Fizik is likely to breathe more because air is going to be able to get in and out of there a little bit better. And you can see that the perforations go right the way down the side of the shoe, which is the same as they do for their road version of this. So I think that overall breathability, it's likely that the Fizik is going to be a slightly better breathing shoe. In terms of the materials, the cuff itself on the Scott is a neoprene cuff, so it's slightly stretchy. Internally, it's sort of insulated from about halfway down, just above your ankle there. But it doesn't seem to be out of a ripstop material, whereas the Fizik seems to have this ripstop, which is generally speaking tougher. It's the same on their tongue as well, and you can see how that actually sort of joins up with the rest of the shoe going across. So I think durability-wise, the Fizik's likely to be a little bit tougher in that respect. The other thing about the waterproofing on the Scott, you've got this lace guard which is made of a neoprene, but you can see it's ever so thin, very flexible. Now I'm sure it does the trick really well, but I just worry about how durable that is. If I ride where there's thorns across the trail, you know, it's quite easy for thorns to sort of be quite aggressive and tear across shoes, and I'm a bit worried that that's actually going to be fairly, you know, prone to being torn. The other material on the Scott seems to be like a sort of a leather type, plasticky type finish. It's flexible. I'm sure it does the trick, but again, I wonder just how durable that is against sort of abrasions and scrapes from thorns along the way. In terms of the way that the shoe grips, you've got two different types of sole here. You'll notice that the Scott has got a wider sole that actually covers more of the tread of the shoe, both front and back. And in fact, that makes for a much more secure footing. It's a tougher, better feeling shoe. It's just got more sort of ground contact, if you like. The Fizik, on the other hand, has got a narrower, you can see it's quite significantly narrow, especially on the heel, in relation. And therefore, you know, it seems to have it's not quite as stable in my opinion. I'm sure that in the mud they both work particularly well. The Fizik, you can put some studs in the front if you choose to. But you'll notice that the Scott has got this sort of grey rubber tread, which is more grippy, very much like your soft compound tyres on your bike. The only thing is, great that it's grippy, however, it's going to wear more quickly, isn't it? You know, and I've been through, you know, shoes which have got replaceable soles, such as, you know, City shoes and so forth. And I found that they tend to wear quite quickly because there's less tread on them and they're so expensive to replace. Sometimes it's cheaper to just get a new set of shoes when they get a bit tatty. Now, of course, you can't replace the soles on either of these, but, you know, the Scott's got a better tread pattern, but in my opinion, it's going to wear out faster. Even though there's perhaps less of the tread on the Fizik, I think that the Fizik perhaps is going to be a little bit more durable long term. We'll have to wait and see. In terms of the height of the shoe, you'll notice that the Scott is quite significantly higher. The cuff is, you know, a good sort of, 3 or 4 centimetres higher. So if you're wearing a Gore-Tex over trouser, that's going to cover the cuff. You're going to get much more water resistance than you are with the Fizik. So you take your pick really. You may be able to use a sort of a small gaiter perhaps over the base of this, which would be a good way of perhaps fully waterproof in that if you're going to be wearing an over trouser as well. In terms of the design of the front of the shoe, you'll notice that the Scott is a bit larger. That's because it has a much tougher toe box. For mountain biking, you hit something hard, a stump, a rock, you're going to notice it if you don't have some sort of reinforcement on there. And the Scott has much tougher toe box on here, which is going to give you more protection. On the other hand, the Fizik just feels much softer. I'm sure it's okay, but it's going to be a lighter weight shoe. It's more of a roadie style shoe, I guess. Not going to give you quite as much protection in that respect there. The other thing is that generally speaking, the shape of the shoe, the size of it, is quite a lot larger, generally speaking, with the Scott. Now, I've got narrow feet, size 46. I found that they're both extremely comfortable. They're both, when you do them up, both feel very supportive. The Scott seems to have more room inside there. Now, they're both sort of lined with a thermal sort of insulation. The Fizik one has a sort of a fluffy or sort of insulation to it, whereas the Scott's got more of a felt sort of liner. But they're both really well finished internally, and I'm sure they're going to be thermally insulating. However, you've got to remember that if you've got insulation and then it's pulled tight around your foot, you find that the insulation is compressed and it holds less air. Therefore, it's less thermally effective. So if you have a shoe that has a little bit more space in it, means actually it's going to be a slightly warmer shoe. Whereas one which has got a closer fit is going to perhaps ride better, but you're going to be sacrificing a little bit of that sort of thermal insulation. Just worth sort of considering. Of course, if it does get particularly cold, you could always loosen them both off if you feel that that would actually give you a bit more air inside the shoe, keep your feet a little bit more toasty. So in terms of the rest of the shoe, they've both got replaceable insoles that you can pull out. Again, fully perforated. Overall, the shoes, the Fizik is a little bit lighter. There's slightly less to it. It's around about 60 grams lighter per shoe, although that's not going to make much of a difference if you ask me. And you get a little bit of mud and that sort of stuff on it. So overall, I think it's going to be down to the fit of the shoe. I found that as I said, they're both very comfortable on my feet. I'm a size 46, but I've got narrow feet, and I found that with the thick socks, the Scott fitted extremely well, but with thinner socks, I found that the shoe wanted to sort of buckle up and bend up a little bit as I walked, and it wasn't really supporting my foot as well, even if I did up the laces tight, and that's probably down to the shape of my feet as opposed to yours. So my preference in terms of fit for cycling, sort of, for holding the foot more firmly, and getting a better SPD sort of engagement and feel, really, the Fizik is going to be my choice. So overall, I think they're both excellent shoes. They're both extremely well made, and I think it's just going to be down to personal fit if you get the opportunity. Do buy from your local bike shop. It's very important that they get your trade rather than just mail order, and then you'll be able to actually try them out and see for yourself. One small detail which I wasn't so fond of with the Scott was perhaps a manufacturing thing, but a very small detail on the flexible neoprene up at the top here was that somehow it's got bunched in the stitching just at this point here. Again, it's probably nitpicking, but it sort of irritated me that was the case there. It's only on one shoe, the other one doesn't have that. Seems to have very slight bunching on the back. I know neoprene is going to be a difficult material to stitch because as you hold it, it's going to be stretching in certain ways. But that sort of irritated me a little bit about that sort of detail that went through quality control and was still passed. Apart from that, though, excellent shoes, both of them, and I'm sure if you get the chance to try them both, you'll get an idea about which you prefer. So I hope that's been helpful. Maybe it'll help you make a decision as to which boot is going to be right for you. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to whether they fit your feet particularly well, and that you're not going to have too much slop in thin socks, and it's not going to be crunching your toes up with thick socks. As long as you've got that adjustability in the shoe, you're going to be good to go. Both of these are an excellent choice. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video.